Bickley and Marotta Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
Mediocrity is nothing to celebrate. Mediocrity isn't supposed to make you full of hate and rage either. But I am not sure in the history of sports that we have seen a 500 basketball team ride the roller coaster we are on in Phoenix, Arizona. One day we're screaming the Suns are oh so done, and the next day we might be cheering for oh so and done. In truth, we've got a very flawed team with aging star power, a team that gets ravaged around the rim and on the glass, a team whose present doesn't feel like proper compensation for the bleak rebuild creeping closer and closer on the horizon. Now, hopefully, the team found something over the weekend. Hopefully they can deal Yusuf Nurkic for an athletic rim protector. Maybe they can get reinforcements by trading Tyus Jones and Grayson Allen. And personally, I cannot wait for the trade deadline to pass so this team either has Jimmy Butler or they can forget about the disgruntled Heat star. Because this team needs to rally around who they have and fully commit to KD's philosophy of working harder while having more fun than anyone. Now, that would be Kenny Dillingham, not Kevin Durant, by the way, but the point remains, and the Suns need to find a way to fight and care like they did in the fourth quarter on Sunday. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW. Make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
Oh, a lot to chew on. Let's start chewing on this first, though. The use of "oh-so done." Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, people are cheering for "oh-so and done." There's no doubt about it, and I think it's for a lot of reasons. We haven't had young rooks here in a while that have been instant contributors, and it's the idea that they're homegrown. The one thing people don't talk about when you talk about the acquisition of Jimmy Butler is how does it even feel? How would it even feel to bring in another high wattage star, aging, injury prone, and then putting that on the roller coaster that we're on? I think it would be very disorienting. I would rather try it than not, as long as you don't have to give away capital. You know my thoughts on it, but it's not the best way to a championship. Now, I guess as we've talked many, many times, the route doesn't matter at this point.
No,
right?
The best way to a championship for Phoenix Suns fans is whatever path gets them to the
gets you there. So maybe,
and it's also the best way to a championship in the modern NBA is out the window. You can't even think about that because the Suns are what they are. Mm-hmm. The way to a championship is now you have to deal with what you're dealing with.
Yeah. So let's hone in on the Jimmy Butler thing real quickly. There's been, I wouldn't say developments, but Pat Riley has done an interview where he said some interesting things. He did an interview with Dan Le Batard where he basically said, Jimmy Butler is under contract, which means you do owe us something. And there's been reporting that Pat Riley sent a 10-page letter and video to the NBA Players Association to justify the suspension they've given Jimmy Butler. Mm-hmm. And then there's a belief that, look, the Suns can't get or find a way to give the Miami Heat enough capital to make them want to pull the trigger on a deal. And meanwhile, the Miami Heat, just like the Phoenix Suns, have won 3 consecutive games.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And the reporting late last week was that Jimmy Butler will be back after the suspension ends on Friday, is supposedly that day. Look, you can say it all you want. I'll believe it when I see it. When we're talking about a player as steadfast and as stubborn as Jimmy Butler can be.
Yeah.
Here's some sound from Bobby Marks from ESPN, their NBA front office insider. We have him on the show a lot. He's on the station a lot talking about things just like this. But what does he see on the horizon for the Jimmy Butler situation?
Miami's been pretty firm as far as what they're looking for. They're not looking for Bradley Beal and what's left of his contract. They're not looking for long-term salary that could be a hindrance. I think there is a strong likelihood that he's on this roster when we get past February 6th and he picks up that 52. I know it's been reported that he's going to decline that option and become a free agent. But when you have $52 million on the table, you have to have a home to go to. So I think it would be more likely to opt into the contract and then see where you stand as far as from a trade standpoint here. Both sides need each other. I don't know how the train got off the track here, but Miami needs Butler and Butler needs Miami, even if the long-term play isn't going to be the Heat here. And I think the big question is when the suspension is lifted, where is his mindset as far as where he is? Because that's going to play a big role as far as the next couple of weeks. And if his mindset isn't there and then we kind of revert back to what we've had, they could just suspend him again, so we can go through this cycle here, which is not the best interest for anyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in the future for Jimmy Butler, no matter how you slice it. His current contract is paying him $48.8 million per year. If he opts in next year with that player option, it's at 52.4 with Miami. Mm-hmm. He's extension eligible for both Miami and for any team that trades for him. There's a pretty minuscule difference. Miami could give him a 2-year extension this offseason, $112.6 million. Another team could max out at $110.9. So the reports that were out there last week that the Suns and Matt Ishbia are ready to give Jimmy Butler $120 million, that's false. They can't.
No.
Under the CBA.
Yeah, 113 is the number.
Well, Bobby Marks has got it at 110.9.
Okay, whatever.
So, but it's in that range, 110 to 113, almost 113 with Miami.
But again, at what point in time, that's largely irrelevant.
It is. It depends on what team is writing the checks.
Well, but it also depends. The idea is if Matt Ishbia is the only owner that wants to pay that kind of money for Jimmy Butler, then maybe it's not such a good idea.
Like if you're the only owner that wants to trade for Bradley Beal?
That's it.
We haven't said this in a while.
And look, and I've been a guy that has absolutely loved Jimmy Butler's game, his rage, his attitude, his toughness. He's exactly the kind of basketball player I love. I don't like what he's doing. I think it's really, really derelict. I think Pat Riley is accurate when he says, you signed this contract, we're paying you, you owe us something. It's not upon us to provide you the joy of playing basketball. And so I look, and again, people have criticized, well, Pat Riley should have never criticized Jimmy Butler. Well, what?
Yeah, I mean, and there's other people saying that the game has passed Pat Riley by. Mm-hmm. Look, he's one of those guys that's earned the right to ride into the sunset when he wants to.
Yeah.
With what he's accomplished as a coach, a player, and an executive in this league.
Yeah. There were reports that when the Heat were in Orlando, Jimmy Butler made it a point to be out at this real fancy restaurant and hanging out, and it was like people like, okay, he's going to keep this up.
Well, in his 2 most recent games before the suspension was handed down, he scored 9 points in each of those games. Mm-hmm. And that was after one of those games. That's when he talked about his lack of joy. Can I get my joy back here? I don't know. I don't think
probably
so.
Not. I don't think so.
Probably not. That's what he said.
So he was tanking.
Yeah.
While the rest of his team was trying.
We talked to Charles Barkley last week. He told us that Jimmy's not handling this the right way either because contracts do mean something. Mm-hmm. And the other criticism that's been kind of lobbed towards Jimmy Butler in all of this is, you're making $48 million this year. What are you worried about next year in 26, 27 for? Mm-hmm. That will take care of itself if you do your job.
That's it.
But he obviously wants out. And I am very, very curious because we're running out of time. February 6th is that trade deadline. I'm curious to see how deep he digs his heels in on this because he obviously doesn't want to be there anymore.
No. Yeah,
and we know what happens largely when NBA stars don't want to be somewhere anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's also a very, very bad look, especially if Pat Riley has corroborated their side of the story and presented that to the NBA PA because if it's valid, that means Jimmy Butler's going to literally be on an island by himself. He will not have the NBA PA defending him and going against the Heat's conduct and suspending him.
Yeah, but, I mean, what does that mean ultimately?
I don't know.
The Players Association will always have the players back. I mean, their support might be affected or diminished in some degree, but I'm not sure what that means. Is
this league really getting to the point where if you really want out, you just quit playing, regardless of how much you've signed for?
No, this could set a very damaging precedent.
Yeah,
because we've seen players, and when players talk about trades publicly, they get suspended or fined at least.
Yeah. And this is not what Adam Silver wants.
No.
You know, he just wants a nice cold building to sleep on. Sorry. I keep going for the gargoyle punchlines.
It's good.
That one landed.
He just wants to suck someone's brain
That's
out
it.
with a
That's
straw
all.
through
That's
their
it.
ear.
Right.
Can't a guy just be happy?
Thanks for watching Bickley and Murata. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.